Verbal Quick Video, where we give you a verbal image of life, and we are everyday people. Like to welcome you all to the show, right? Look, family, this is one of those episodes where, I get not upset because being upset, that's over with. Nobody cares, right? Because the damage has been done. So the only thing we can do is right or wrong, right? We can point out the mistakes that other people have made and the reason they made these mistakes, right? And I know they had a reason behind making the mistakes, right? But it is what it is, family. So check this out, right? Check this out. You had archaeologists, not only were they racist, but they intentionally held back the truth to serve a greater purpose for them and also to deny power in history from us, right? Now, in their thinking in those times, they tried to justify them doing so, right? But like this white guy said the other night on a television broadcast, he stated that history had to be truth and factual, meaning for their purpose. But if you meant that, then why aren't you going back and letting the world know what you've discovered, right? Because we all are adults here. There's no children, and stop seeing black the black man and the black woman as boy and gals or boy and girls. Play that. It has no place in the future. 2025 was the completion, the year 9, and that is where, and that's numerology, that's symbolic. That was where you had to get things in order, right? You had to uh, square things away, right? You had to settle differences, petty nuances, and you had to uh, get yourself and your future together, because 2026 is year 1, right? How is 2026 year 1? Because 20, 6, 2, 2, and 6 is 10, and 1 plus 0 is 1. We starting the year 1. Now the year 1 in 2026, oh man, bro, it's gonna be moving so fast that it's not gonna have time for you to catch up. 2026 not gonna have time for you to make up your mind on what you want to do. You're supposed to do that all the way up until the year 2025. Now you know how it says we war not against flesh and blood, but spiritual wickedness in high places. Woo, you finna see all of that. They coming out the woodworks, right? Because what they're saying is you don't have a solid belief in who you are. You don't have a love for yourself. And we fed you a diet off of our information and knowledge, meaning the colonizer, off of his books, his mindset, his information, his narratives in movies, and how he wanted you to be projected on the screen. He wrote a lot of the movies, and he wrote the characters that he wanted you to play, so it can send off a image into society. All that's dead. That's that's gone. And if you try to be that person and carry that mindset over in 2026, man, it's gonna swallow you. It's over, man. You ain't you ain't gonna make it. Because they saying that with their spiritual wickedness and their witches and their warlocks, they saying that if you was fed on their books, knowledge, information, and on that narrative, then your mind is ready and ripe for the picking. They already, they ready. They got you, you know, and it is what it is. You were supposed to look. And this, I ain't even got into what this show is about yet, though, right? But look, you were supposed to been unstudied Marcus Garvey. You supposed to been unstudied Noble Drew Ali. You supposed to been unstudied Master Muhammad, Army Elijah Muhammad, Nasir Farrakhan, Malcolm X, Khalid, Destination Islam, uh, Father Allah, Brother Clarence 13X. You supposed to been on that knowledge 120 and the supreme wisdom. Now hold on, I'm saying this before I go further. There is no division between NOI and 5%ers because it all came out of the same well, right? Knowledge is knowledge. The knowledge for, not of, which is of once you obtain it, but the knowledge for the gods to study, to grow you into godhood. Once you digest the knowledge, just reading it is just not enough. Just remembering it by heart is not enough. Putting it into practice to where it's painful, you take the beatings as you grow and understand the mistakes you was making as life would teach you, and then life will correct you on the best path, right? But if it's a lot of bickering, then that's agent work. That's 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 confusion purposely. One, to draw you out to see who is who, and two, to cause confusion. Because it is what it is. Matter of fact, you know what? We finna dispel some of that confusion right here today on Verbal Pig Radio. So I want y'all to check this out, right? Hold on. Check this out. Let me trip you out for a minute. It don't make sense. It don't make sense. So look, y'all. Okay, y'all see this over here? Okay. Y'all heard when I started out by saying how the archaeologists uh tried to whitewash our history all over the planet, right? All over the planet. I'll give you an example. A lot of you all remember the early Bibles, and in the early Bibles, everything was white. Jesus was white. The angels was white. The little white sheep was white. Wasn't nothing in there black, right? Now this is back in times where things was happening in Africa, Ethiopia, Kush, all of that, right? And you trying to tell me that you couldn't find a person or a depiction of nobody black during that time when majority of the Caucasians was back in Europe, right? And so now when you talk about history, you see these paintings and pictures, right? They paint them white. Now you may ask, well, why, white? Because it was collective not to let black people know who they were, know their significance in the role of society and the knowledge and the mathematics and the science that they taught to the Europeans. So when I hear bickering between African Americans and Africans, right, and African brothers in Africa that don't know the history and what was done to them, don't know the history of the knowledge. I'm like, wait a minute, how you not come from the place that is written of in ancient days of old and you have no knowledge of it? What's going on? How can you, as an African American, quote unquote, what they call us, right? How can you be in America where it was against the law in order to read and it was against the law in order to write? And when you, for 400 something odd years, right? So when you was finally able to read and write, man, you should have had, I mean, books everywhere, right? But why not though? Why did they say if you want to keep anything away from a black man, put it in the book? Because they said that with assurance that they plan worked, that their conditioning and them teaching us by their hand doing slavery, they said they done such a good job with black people that you can write all the information and all the knowledge, put it in a book and put it right in front of him. He ain't gonna even open it. They patted themselves on the back, right? They done it. But let me show you a depiction, right, of the real depiction of how they look. Right. Okay. Now let me give you this depiction so you can see. Right. Now I'm gonna trip you all out. Okay, now check this out. This is the Banu Hashim tribe, right? This is the tribe, right, that is founders of Sufism, right? Although they try to give you, they try to give you this guy, which he was, and you can go read and listen to his uh not take, but his knowledge of Sufism, Ibn Arabi. Ibn Arabi is heavy. He dropped so much knowledge. I mean, of universal laws, metaphysical knowledge, right? The beginning, right? Check him out. But they painted him like this, right? But they painted him like this on purpose because if you ran across it, you think, well, this ain't for me. That's for white folk. Look how he looked, right? That was done on purpose, right? This is the ancient Berber tribe. This ancient Berber tribe is the tribe where Ibn Arabi's mother was from. Ancient. This is how they look, right? Okay, hold on. Wait. Before I go, man, this just hit me. Man, hold on, bro. Let me give you this 6,000 year history real quick, right? Why I see this picture, because this baby, this child, you see the child he's holding, sparked this in me, right? All right, let me give you an example of how it went down, right? You see the man and the woman, right? Can I? Okay, anyway, you see the man and the woman, right? Just imagine in the beginning their color, but 3 times darker, right? Now let's say you got their color 3 times darker, right? But say they are still in the picture. They still in the gathering, in the group, right? I'm gonna get. Okay, we're gonna say with 100. Let's say 100, right? Let's start with 100, even though it's more than that. We're gonna say 100. Now you get a wise scientist, right, who look at that group 100 and said, "Man, out of this group 100, 25 of them is a little bit lighter than the other 75. How is that? Is that two people in this uh, group of people to produce something a tad bit lighter? Why not they all the same colors, right?" So that scientist said, "Look here, man. Look here. I want to do something. I want to go create and make a new people." And the elders tell him, and I'm talking about Yakub, the elders tell him, "Okay, you can make him, but you can't make him here." So they send him off to Pelon or Patmos in the Bible. Now, this knowledge, check this out. This knowledge comes from Masfarad Muhammad, which he gave to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, right? Now, check this out, right? Check this out. So, Masfarad Muhammad comes in the July 4th, 1930, right? Prior to that, prior to that, which we're gonna do a show on this soon, so y'all check this out. But prior to that, America sent 13,000 freed black people to Africa, Liberia, 1822. So these African Americans, so called, 13,000 get shipped off to, they go to Liberia in Africa, right? With a European mindset. They named it Monrovia, Africa, after President Monroe. So now you have now it's conflict between the Africans who were there and the African Americans who were sent there, right? Nothing new under the sun. Just like today, now the Africans are coming from uh, Africa into the Americas, and now it's still same disunity, right? Where it shouldn't have been. But everything comes back around in time, nothing new under the sun. 1822, right? Now, prior to that, right? Prior to that, the Moors fell in Spain and Portugal, right? So you got the Moors leaving Spain and Portugal, Europe, and Lagos, Portugal, and go to Nigeria, name it Lagos, Nigeria, which Nigeria only been Nigeria since what, 1897? White woman named Shaw named it. Okay, the African Americans who left go to Nigeria, I mean, go to Africa, go to Liberia, and name it Monrovia, right? Liberia. Okay, now check this out, right? All of that knowledge from that the Moors had that built Spain and built Europe, all of that knowledge that they had was lost, hidden all over the world, right? Books, symbolism, uh, hieroglyphs, stone word, uh, you know, but it was hidden. meaning the African Americans didn't have it, right? The Moors that left Spain and went to Lagos, Nigeria, went to Cuba, went to America, North, South, and Central America, right? All that knowledge was lost, right? So what happened, right? All that knowledge was lost after uh 1555, right? Blacks came to America on a slave ship called Jesus, John Hardy Hawkins. Now, what happened? See, y'all gotta understand. So prior to Master Muhammad being born, right? When the Moors out of North Africa go through Europe, Spain, Portugal, got defeated and got split up, right? Well, where was the power? Where was the power of the Moors? Where did they go to? Where did the builders who built, who were the descendants of the pyramid builders? Who were the descendants of who built Europe? What are the descendants of who built up Portugal and who built up Spain and all over? Who built uh, structures and mosques? Where did they go to? Right? They came to the Americas, right? Because they was looking for the so-called African American, which were the Moors that came to America. They was looking for them. So they went to different, they went to Africa. They went to different continents and couldn't find us. But then they found we were where? In America. So once they found we was in America, what did they do? We got to send somebody to come raise them up and give them the knowledge. They didn't take it over there to Africa. They didn't take the knowledge uh, over in Europe. They didn't take it nowhere. They brought that knowledge to the Americas because they found that that lost tribe, that lost sheep, that lost people were over here in the Americas, right? So Nasrallah Muhammad, right, had to go into the Caucasus Mountains, right, to create a child that can come in and out of America without being detected and not be killed, right? So had a baby with a white woman, Nasrallah Muhammad. But we gonna give you a knowledge to take to the black people or the Moors or your people, right, or your uncles, people, your kith and kin, right? Take this knowledge and raise them up with this knowledge. You'll be able to come in, and that's what you're gonna have to do. You're gonna have to study these languages. You're gonna have to study this. You have to go to these universities. You're gonna have to prepare yourself to deliver them. And we ain't coming with you. You have to go by yourself. You have to go at it alone. Right. You know, look, do you know how fierce and well properly trained by by Sufi mystics, by the greatest minds on the planet, to create one that's fearless enough to come all the way from Mecca, Arabia, all the way and study in New Zealand, study different continents, countries, top schools, to be prepared to come all the way to North America by yourself to raise up a people that had lost the knowledge of self, been in slavery, right? Was taught to be second class citizens, was rejected and made to look in the mirror and hate themselves, was made to do everything out of their lower nature in order to survive. Was made to eat the swine, poison animal eater. Was made to eat swine, pork, right? Was made to have chitlins and pig intestines and make a delicacy out of them, right? Come on, come on, man. To come here by himself to give our unworthy ass some knowledge. Risk his life for us. Come to America. Raise up one of Army Elijah Muhammad. Give him the supreme wisdom. Told him. Like the Army Elijah Muhammad said, I didn't see it. I got this from the God himself that came to save us. And he said, I'm telling you what he said. The black man is God and the white man is the devil. That's what he said. And he said, this is the knowledge. Here go the knowledge of the planet, the circumference of the earth, the distance from the sun from the earth, the distance of the moon from the earth, the rate of how thought travels. Thought, the measurements of the earth, right? He said, this is the knowledge that you teach, or the knowledge of the gods. Here you go. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad took that knowledge, man, and raised black folk up by the thousands. Mr. Farrakhan took that knowledge and raised black folk up by the thousands. Malcolm, Muhammad Ali, Clarence 13, next Father Allah, took that knowledge and just raising folk up to where the colonizer didn't know what was going on, because he said, wait a minute, I created information to fill that empty vessel of how I wanted them to be and think, right? How did this knowledge, how did this man, Nasrat Muhammad, slip in by me and raise up all this knowledge to where it became a wave and I can't stop it, right? Okay, so now, hold on, we're going to get back to Yakub. He said, how can I can't stop it. It's flowing, it's in everywhere. I be hearing these people. I heard somebody today talking about America falling, uh, this system getting ready to collapse. Well, that's the fall of America. That was been done. You just regenerating knowledge that was done since the 30s, but everything comes back around again, right? There's nothing new under the sun. Elijah Muhammad been taught that, but I'm gonna show you how merciful Mr. Farrakhan is, right? He came back and said, well, a torchlight for America. Meaning, look, we got black people over here in America. We don't want to see them suffer. So America, look, in order to help my people, I might have to help you. Here go a book, A Torchlight for America, that will help you not only by you saving yourself, you helping us too. Black folk, take the book, run with it. Right? What Torchlight from America? You trying to help the white man? Is like, just be quiet. You don't have. First of all, I'm gonna tell you something. One, I'm sure how the game changed, right? It's how the game changed. One, if you wasn't reading the books when the books was free and cheap, right? That was the time for you to get it. Like an older gentleman told me. He said, bruh, everybody get 12 years of free education. What did you do with yours? Right? So if you didn't do nothing with it, and then he started looking in these books and finding out, damn, black black folks did way more than what we gave them credit for. So if this knowledge was to get out, it would make us look like liars and hypocrites, right? But what we gonna do? Jack the price up on the books. Now, the books that got the deepest knowledge of our history, they going for $500, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, right? So check this out. If you don't have the money, right? Or if you say, or if you have the money and you say, man, I ain't spending $2,000 on no book. Okay, be quiet. But the one who spent the $2,000 for the knowledge on the book and come back and tell you, hey, this is what the book say. I spent it so and so, so and so, and you sit there and try to argue with somebody and you ain't even read the book. It's like, how foolish are you? Right? Come think about it. Right? Okay. So back to Yakub. So you got 100, right? And you got 25 that's tad bit lighter. A scientist looks at that and says, "Dang, okay, there's two people up in here. Let me take this 25 and make me a man." Okay, well, you can't make him here around these civilized people. But you can take him over there to the, I don't know, Patmos and Pelon and get started on it. Okay. He said, yeah, because I know what you know not. He take his 25 over there, right? And he marry the lighter on to the lighter, right? Lighter on to the lighter, right? Until they get to the baby's color, right? Then he takes the baby's color, lighter on to the lighter. And it gets a little lighter, and over 600 years, all the melanin stripped out of these two is gone. Now they got blonde hair and blue eyes and uh, pinkish skin, or what they call white skin, right? So now they go back to Holy City of Mecca. But Yakub teaches them in a 180-degree knowledge different from what the original God taught them, right? And so he teaches them a system of tricks and lies, deceit. They didn't know nothing about tricks and lies and deceit. So once the Caucasian, before he was sent to the Caucasus Mountains, once the Caucasian started letting loose, he would go to, let's say, her and say, hey, I know you got that vegetable stand over there, but he said that most of the stuff you selling was rotten and wasn't no good. Now, she don't know nothing about deceit, tricks, and lies because they was taught directly from the God himself. So now anger come up. She watch over there. Hold on, what you mean you telling these people about this how I feed my family and so, right? But he done went and told him, hey, I saw her uh out back hugged up with another man. So he like, what you talking about? You done run around here cheating, messing with so and so, and she like, how dare you call me so and so? They now the whole town arguing and fighting and fussing, right? While the new man back there laughing, he manipulated, he divided and conquered, because in the back of his mind, I want to take everything. While y'all fighting, I'm gonna be the one to cause the fight, one settle the fight, one make money out the fight, and then eventually sneak and take your land, right? He hustling, right? But hey, wait a minute. That's the game. They say, don't hate the player, hate the game. Because if we were on our team, if we were on guard on our post, we'd have stopped it right there. Don't come over with that foolishness. And we would have communicated with each other. But since we, how can I say it? I'm not saying we turned our back on God, but since we let our free will get the best of us, let's say it like that. Okay. So now everybody fight. They take the matter to the king. The king say, look, okay, man, look, it's these new people we got from among us. Round them up. We're going to march them down and put them in the Caucasus Mountains. That's where the word Caucasian come from, right? Some of us started, uh, as always, though, some of us started marrying them, so they hid them. That's why I say we took or gathered up all we could find. Because there was some they couldn't find, right? Some they couldn't find. So they started uh, they hid them, having children with them, and hid some of them. The ones they hid, they mating with each other, which gives you, which gives you, hold on, let me show you, which gives you this. Women and men, over time, they got our what we created. They got the religion, they got the language. They dress like us. They learn a culture. They studied to come among us. We treated them. We treated them as brothers under the knowledge, right? Okay. Just wanted to show y'all that. Don't think I'm tripping. So we treated them like brothers under that knowledge, right? Okay. Back to this. Okay. So they gathered all they could find and marched them across the burning sand to the Caucasus Mountains. General Muck Muck on the camel. They walked cable toed all the way to the Caucasus Mountains and got roped in. But the ones they could find, the ones that they couldn't find, they stayed over. They mating, building, doing their thing. But some kind of way, what Yakub taught them, they still wind up taking things from us and running the show. I don't know what we be on. Okay, but it is what it is. Okay, so now they in the Caucasus Mountains. But Yakub told them, look at me. He told them, go back to him again. Hold up. I'll put them up so I can understand. He told the people that he marched to the Caucasus Mountains, right? That they can rule for 6,000 years, right? Okay. They can rule for 6,000 years. I should have put Yakub picture up here, but it is what it is. They can rule for 6,000 years, right? They lost 4,000 years because they didn't have knowledge themselves, crawling around on all fours. Moses came, raised them up, gave them some knowledge, right? Brought them out the cave and gave them technology or gave it back to them what they lost. They started to build. They started to understand religion, right? Because they were saying we warn with each other so much. How can we rule without fighting? And they said, well, we'll rule under a religion. Okay, we need us a religion. What religion we gonna get? Okay, Constantine, come on, Christianity, bam. They spread that. We need our own book because these people had the original Quran, they had the original Bible, they had the original Injil, not Injil, but the original Torah. We need something to rule with. Okay, here you go, bam. Got you, here you go. Got your Bible. But the not the Coptic Gnostics, but here go Constantine. Now you have you a book, right, of religion. Right. Okay. Now move out, right? But remember, your time up in 6,000 years. That 6,000 years ended in 1914, right? 100 years from that is 2014. So now you're seeing things taking place. Now you see they because the Caucasian ancestors already let them know, hey man, we got 6,000 years of rule. After that, we gotta hand this thing over. They like, man, we ain't handing nothing over. We're gonna try to rule as long as we can. Yeah, but we agreed to this 6,000 years. Y'all agreed. I didn't agree. Is what they saying. We're gonna try to keep this thing going, right? Although they fail to realize in their mind, they think that they have what it takes to win against what was built in 1929 on the island of Nippon. They feel like they got something for that. But it's like this. It's like this. Dang, how can I say it without revealing, giving up too much? Okay, put it like this. It's like this, right? Say you 10 years old, right? And you seeing hustlers in your neighborhood, right? Rolling good, looking good, got money. You know what they doing, but you too young to get in the game, right? So you saying, man, when I get older, I'm gonna get in the game, I'm gonna make that money, I'm gonna do what they're doing, right? But what you fail to realize, you wasn't there in the beginning when the game was created. So you don't know all the ins and outs. You only know what they showing you or what you can see. But you don't know the whole game. You don't know how it was constructed and how it was built and the players that was in it that built it and how the system got started, right? You don't know none of that. All you see is the glitz and the glam. You just want to be down, right? That's how a lot of people get caught up. But still, okay. So I say that to say that, yeah, they think they have what it takes, but they wasn't here on the on the onslaught, onset when it was first created and the mindset on why it was created. You coming lately and you don't know everything. Something like that. So that 6,000 years is up, right? And so now we having what we having or what you seeing a lot of things taking place, but this is just the beginning. 20 uh 2026, man, it's finna go down. Trust me. It's getting close. So I'm just telling y'all this to say, get ready and be prepared, right? So this is what we finna get into in just a minute. So I just wanna bag up what I'm saying, right? So y'all don't think I'm tripping. I'm gonna read it just like this. Okay, so this is Afro Arabian origins of the early Yemenites and their conquest and settlement of Spain. These the Moors. Shem was especially blessed black and beautiful. Ham was blessed black like the raven. Right. You know. Okay, before I go on, let me explain this to you. You had explorers who kept diaries that hit the Americas, that hit all throughout Africa and the Middle East and North Africa, more the Moors was, what the Egyptian was, and gave their account of the majority of the people who were there and what they looked like, right? They tried to get rid of that. They tried to burn that knowledge and get rid of that, but they couldn't get everything, is what I'm saying. And then you have, that's how you know who is racist, because you can show them this and they can read it and they still would say, oh, that don't mean that, because they can't phantom that their people lied and deceived them for all these years, making them think that the people that they treated as second class citizens and looked down upon was actually the originators of it all. I mean, man, can you swallow that? That got to be rough, bro. I feel you. But what I say, don't hate the player, hate the game. We didn't do it, right? We can't help because think about it. We are already on the planet. So we had to learn how to make fire. We had to learn how to build. We had to learn mathematics. We had to learn how to do the drums and the talking drums and get in tune and sync in rhythm with God's vibrational pitch, the ohms of the earth, right? The natural God frequency. We had to be on all that because we was already here. Of course, we gonna had to do that. That's right. But if you come after that, you got to learn what these people are already established. And I know that can be frustrating, but you hear though, right? I didn't like. I mean, what could I do? I wouldn't. I would if I was that. I'd be like, well, damn, Yakub, don't teach them tricks and lies. Teach them God knowledge. But they ain't like, well, why teach them God knowledge? If you already know God knowledge. With it, we got to know this side of the game, the tricks and lies to overcome it, so it won't never happen again. Okay, this is a process you got to go through. It's gonna be painful, but it is what it is. You're gonna come out on top. And a lot of us got killed during slavery, the Middle Passage over here in the Americas, Jamaica, Haiti. I mean, it was hell, man. I mean, they did their job for what they were uh, supposed to do. Let's put it like that. They done it. You can't say they didn't do it. Because look at us today. You got African Americans fighting with Africans, Jamaicans, Caribbeans. I'm Dominican. I'm no black. Puerto Ricans, Taínos, the originals. What is going on, man? But it is what it is. Okay, come on. Okay. Now, the above, right? Okay, put it like this. Shem was especially blessed black and beautiful. Ham was blessed black like the raven. The above written between the first to second century AD by Rabbi Eli Ezer of Israel from the uh, Park Perk 24, cited by Yakub Tom Halevi of the Resource Center of African Jews in America. Okay, we finna get to him. Okay, look. The people of the far are the uh, Kuwaitans, Qahtan tribe, the son of Joktan mentioned in Genesis. They are of Hamitic or African rather than Arab types. And the Purier Plus and the Purier Plus of the Persian Gulf, Arnold Wilson, the Geographical Journal, Volume 691, number 3, March 1927, page 235 through 255, see page 236. There is a considerable mass of evidence to show that there was a very close resemblance between the Proto-Egyptians and the Arabs before either became intermingled with Armenoid racial elements. Written by ancient Grafton Elliott Smith, see page 61, The Proto-Dynastic Egyptians. Gorgias Press, 2007, originally published in 1923. One more. In the 9th century of Photos of Constantinople, in his biblical Eka quotes the Greek Nonos of 53 AD, saying the Ethiopians, Himyarites, and Saracens were the most powerful nations of this time, right? Sir Richard Palmer, page 2007, Bornu, Sarah, and Sudan, 1970, originally published 1936 by John Murray, right? Okay, we going down. All right, wait, I just want to make sure I missed it. Okay, we go. We start with Yemen. Okay. Yemen, as with the rest of Arabia, is a rich mixture of population, including the original Arabian people and later the Iranian Persians, as well as the Byzantines and Turks. Numerous slaves brought in from all over the surrounding world. All over the world, they had slaves brought in those areas. Even from the Americas to over to Africa, they brought slaves. Okay, Turks and other subjected people of the Turks also played a part in settling the Yemen as Egypt and North Africa. Not too long ago, in about the year 1900, British colonial observers of the British Yemeni Society remarked if Turks were thrown out of Yemen, a wonderful field of commerce would be open, right? The descriptions of the Arabs of both the Yemen in the south and the northern part of the Arabian Peninsula in early Christian and Islamic time say the people were largely still of dark brown or black African appearance with kinky hair, while people that were fair skinned were recognized by Arabs as descendants of subject peoples and slaves. The northern, western, and northern eastern part of the peninsula, in fact, remained as such until a few hundred years ago. Even the Armenoid elements mentioned by Elliott Smith above were actually early prominent nosed, stockier built Eurasiatics whose ancestors were also once based in Syria and Iran have also been absorbed by later European populations entering the Near East and are not as predominant as they once were. Meaning we gathered up all we could find of the Yakub's people. The rest was uh, procreating in the Middle East, and some of them became known as Iranians and whatnot, right? So that's why you hear pale skinned Arabs denoting that the darker skins were there long time. All right, okay. The history of modern ruling families in the Persian Gulf is a good example of how migration has changed the complexion of the peoples of the peninsula. According to their own documented history within the last 4 centuries, the ancestors of these tribes, many of whom are quite fair in color, began immigrating into the Arabian Peninsula from Syria and Mesopotamia. They are descendants of earlier tribesmen originally from the far south of Arabia, known as Banu Tayyi and Murad or Amarat clans of the Benin, Anzia, and other uh, Mad, uh, Maja, Mahaja who had settled in northern Arabia and further north, where they mixed with Syrian and Mesopotamian people after the Islamic period. These Yemenite tribes of Taya and his brother uh, Maji were notoriously black, and the early Arabic writing makes clear that they also had fair skin in uh, derision or low regard. But after over 1,000 years of living among the non-Arab people, so-called white Syrians, and intermixing with their women and concubines from the countries as far north as uh, Circassia and Russia, these Arabs of what could be considered diluted blood made their way back to the Neged, Negd, and the Gulf. Many, of course, now think of them the stereotypical Arab. The modern Saud family claimed to descend from the Murad and other clans of the Ruwali bin Anasi, Anasi bin Wali, who had come to the Najd, Negd, in late Islamic times. In the Yemen and Hadramaut, these clans were known as Ans or Ants or Anzi, Ruin, and Marid, and were recognized clans of the ancient uh, Mud, Mudhaji, Maddhij, and Kawalan, Khawlan, and Himmerite tribes of Hadmarat and Yemen. Thus, Ibn Khaldun wrote in the 14th century, the country of Madji, Maddhij, is inhabited by the Banu and Zibiyad and Murat subtribe of the Mudjat, K 1892. In the north, the Anasi or An-Nazar had settled in Syria near Damascus and in Iraq, cut in 1979, page 170. And in Central Arabia, where they traded slave concubines and intermarried amongst each other. The Suad family continued the tradition of legally importing white slave concubines from North Armenia until the 20th century, 1999. Others say the trade has never stopped. So the Suad family was trading, legally importing white slave concubines from the North Armenia into the 20th century, mixing with them, However, the early Arabian ancestor of the Saudis were not the complexion of Persian and Syrian. The Anases or Anazar bin Wali, who like the Mazda bin Wali Baker and Taglib, Taghlib bin Wali, were all of ancient Yemenite affiliation and were Ethiopic in appearance. We have already discussed the appearance and origins of the Baker and Taghlib in part 1 and 2 of Fear Blackness. We know this because of the numerous writings of early Persian, Iraqis, and Syrians and others who claim these tribes describe them as being mostly dark brown and or black in color, and who asserted quite frankly their fair skin was very rare and held in disfavor by true Arabs. We know the Arabs were so predominantly black in color that even the term white in early days, according to Arabic linguistic specialists like Ibn Madur, meant a black man with a clear skin and light brown cast, as is characterized of Barack Obama and so many African Americans, or in fact the present Imam of Mecca. On the other hand, many black Africans have been brought into Arabia as slaves more recently in the last several centuries. Many of the people that were taking black slaves from Africa were in fact not Arabs in the strict sense of the word, but rather Muslim, Iranians, Iraqis, Turkish, white Syrians, and other Arab Arabized settlers or inhabitants in the Near East, Arabia and North Africa. Even black sub-Saharan traders like the Tibu or Teta, stretched from Sudan through Chad, were involved in the trade until the European colonial era. But then it goes on into slavery and the history and who did what and who did what, right? But basically, my point of this whole thing is just to say that in this time, right, the only thing that will survive going into the year 2026 is the truth. The only thing that's going to survive is the truth. Everything that was created out of falsehood, out of lies, and out of technology, it can't suffice because the the elements, the time is not ripe for it. It's gone. The elements, the time, the positioning of the planet, where we're at today, only truth can suffice because truth will, how can I say, truth will evolve your being in order to be comfortable to remain here. Verbal Quick Radio. Look, we out.